Welcome to the conversation part of the Upper Bowl podcast. We have from Trainwreck Sports in New York. He's a content creator and sports and fun entertainment, which we cover all things Buffalo sports for the Bills and the Sabres. He's our first and probably our only Ohio University alumni of the show. We're going to keep that to a T because that's the best thing ever about him. I'd like to welcome to the program probably the one person who's been showing everybody what Buffalo sports is about during this playoff run, especially for the Buffalo Sabres. Doesn't matter if it's the Blade Gang or anybody else. Mike Bundt, how are we doing? And I got to ask, has anyone really confused for the Dallas Stars forward who used to play for the Predators, Michael Bundt? How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Appreciate you having me on the show. And the only time I've ever been confused for that person was one time on Spin Chicklets last year. I had a tweet about the Sabres having double the playoff series wins of Toronto, despite having not made the playoffs in 14 years. This is since like the 04-05 lockout. And Ryan Whitney brought it up. And then Biz thought he was referring to Michael Bunting, which obviously he wasn't. He was referring to me. But that was kind of funny hearing my name a few times on Spin and Chicklets.
Because our co-host Duncan Dad is like, we got Michael Bunting in the Dallas. I was like, no, Michael Bundt. That's why he works for Trainwreck Sports. I gotta ask you, tell me about Trainwreck Sports. We truly enjoy it. Mostly me and a few of I got it onto my one coworker, Vic. He is a huge Bills fan down here in South Florida. Tell me about it, and I love how you guys use the old Empire Sports Network logo, by the way.
Yeah, that was a creative thing to bring that back. But we're kind of the fun side of sports. We don't try to be experts. We're not the smartest men in the room, and we don't pretend to be that way, but we have a nice mix. I'm a former sports anchor and radio guy, so I've done TV, radio. I've covered the Bills training camps in the past. So I try to give my perspective on things, but a lot of Trainwreck is just fans that are involved in our network that just want to have a good time with sports, whether that be comedic takes, whether that be just being at tailgates, acting like a fan, giving perspectives of a fan. So we do a lot of stuff. We're involved with a lot of different sponsors, charities, different things like that. And let's just say we have a unique look at the Buffalo sports scene that encompasses everything from the Bills, the Sabres, colleges, high school, anything in the area.
Do you guys consider, so I'm going to compare this website. Do you know what Crossing Broad is? It's like a Philly sports tabloid site. Do you consider yourself that, or are you just more of like a funner site, like a Barstool almost?
I haven't ever checked out that site. I don't know. Barstool's funny because like 10 years ago, people would say you don't really want to be compared to Barstool, but now they're obviously so successful. And I love I love PFT. I love Big Cat, and Portnoy has so many funny things on Barstool also. So I wouldn't say we're exactly Barstool imitators, but we have our own unique stuff. Some of it might be of the Barstool type quality, and then there might be some other things that are a little bit more serious. But we definitely have kind of a mix of both.
Because I was looking at your video, you guys do a daily show and stuff, which I think is pure hilarious. I throw you guys on the YouTube chat on YouTube whenever I have a chance to on the big screen. You guys are perfect, anyways. I felt like you guys hit your stride. Like I didn't know about you at all till the playoffs started, and I was like, oh, this is the stuff I need to see, anyways. Not just the regular like stuff that like Spin and Chickles throws out. Like, wait, there's more intense and funny stuff that there's outside of Buffalo that's not just being shown mainstream, at least you guys. So I give you guys props anyways.
Yeah, appreciate that. And it's something where we take it one day at a time, 1 week at a time. We're growing this thing. So in some areas we have a lot of experience, like our Instagram page, and in other areas we're just at the infancy of what we're trying to become. And we're excited to see where this journey takes us.
Who's the founder? Are you the founder of Trainwreck Sports? Or
so right now the founder / owner is Zach Sheldon. You can find him on Twitter. He goes by Maniac. But I'm one of the several kind of the voices and decision makers with Trainwreck Sports. And I kind of look at this as like our 2.0 phase. We had a beginning phase that goes back a long time, probably like closer to like 2017, 2018. It's just a bunch of guys that did a show in their basement, and they were able to get Buffalo sports personalities to come out, and it kind of just went off from there. And then recently, probably in the last like 3-4 years, is when we started turning this more into more of a business into something that we can actually grow and make money off of and bring in sponsors. So this is kind of the second phase. The first phase, a lot of those guys have all moved on, but Zach was one of the original guys, and he still runs it to this day.
Who's the first Buffalo guy you guys had on the show? And he was like, okay, we made it almost, or was there another guy? Would you say?
So that part predates my involvement, but
okay.
I would say some of the big guys like Joe Biscaglia, he's a reporter for the Bills on The Athletic. That was a big time get. Sal Capaccio's been on the show. So almost anybody that has been a person in Buffalo sports media has been on. And then sometimes they have some creative random people that you would be like, how the heck did they get that person on? Some actors. I believe they might have had William Fichtner on one of the episodes. You know him from Montana. He's a Buffalo native. And then one of the funny things, our old anthem singer came into the basement that they did the show back in the day, and he actually sang the national anthem before one of the shows. So all types of crazy stuff. But yeah, there's no limit to who we're willing to have on.
That should be your you're waiting, like when you're waiting the queue to start up, like have the national anthem, him singing it, have the countdown, and you'll be good to go anyways.
100%.
Now I just gave you an idea, so I expect a kickback on that. No worries. we'll edit that out. All right. We got to talk about one of the best things. I will say this. The Sabres resurgence in the NHL has been the best thing that's happened this season. Next to the same time that game happened was when Tim Saunders had the hot mic incident. I don't know if you guys knew that. Did you guys know that or no?
I'm not sure. What's this hot mic incident?
So the hot mic was during the Sabres Flyers game. It was when the Sabres were like they just hired a new GM, and you guys beat the Flyers. I think it was like a 4-2, or it was an ESPN Plus game. That was the same game where Tim Saunders, hey, when you're down there, why don't you go blow me? That's the same.
Yes. That was interesting.
So I always say that hot mic incident relies perfectly with the Sabres, even though the Flyers did make the playoffs. It helped out the Sabres get the move in at least. Do we have to give it a shout out to Tim Saunders for that, or would you say Yarmo kick Yarmo for that at least?
We might need to. Maybe that was the karma that maybe that was the turning point in the Sabres season. It wasn't before then. That was what changed everything for them.
Yeah. How much has been enjoyable for the city? Because I know it's like you even haven't had the Sabres and the Bills exactly in the playoffs at the same time, which I feel like since '99, can we say that at least?
I believe it's 99. So yeah, it's been a long time. It's been crazy. It's been a lot of fun. And whenever you're coming off a long drought and you see it starting to turn, that's always the start of something special.
Mm-hmm.
When they went on their 10-game winning streak in December, it felt good, but people were like, is this sustainable? Like, is this what this team is? And then they just kept it going. And they really carried that the whole rest of the year. And by the point they got to like February and the Olympic break, people were like, okay, this team is legitimate. Now the question is like, how far can they take this? Can they win the division? Can they win a playoff series? And they were selling out games the whole end of the season. I think it was something like 15 straight or something like that to end the year. And what a lot of people don't realize about Buffalo, because obviously they were bad for several years and the crowds kind of stunk for a few years.
You saw more opposing fans than the Sabre fan, at least, and I felt bad for you guys.
It was never that the passion left the city. It was that the city had basically given up on the organization. When you go to like a 14-year drought, they were still selling out like 7-8 years into a historically bad drought. And I even talked to reps from the Sabres, even when they were in years like 11 and 12 and the attendance was bad, their TV ratings were still near the top of the league. Their social media engagement was still near the top. Their merchandise was still very strong. So even though like they were a losing team and it looked bad inside the arena, all of the other metrics pointed out to like sleeping giant. Once they win, they're going to take off. And that's, of course, what ended up happening.
Which is, I will say it's been the best. But anyways, like, even though it's like I do enjoy like through the Florida market, seeing all the other Northerner fans invade both their arenas, I looked at it as like this Buffalo-Boston series is perfect for the NHL. They haven't had this in forever, and plus it's the old Adams division, so make it. I always say like I made this joke to my host. Just rename the Atlantic Division playoffs the Adams Division playoffs. Tampa can suck it anyways. That's why. So, what do you say it was like besides the turning point? Were you guys when you saw this? What was the big? Like, would you say it's like the Tampa game? It was like the gong show game. Was that like the you guys like, oh shoot, we're back, or is it during the Olympic break? Then like the first few games back is like, okay, we may have something here. Would you say?
So they had a couple weak games going into the break, and there's some fear like, okay, what if they carry that into the post Olympic break? Because they had a couple road games. I think it was New Jersey, Florida, Tampa right out of the break, and we're like, oh, that could be a little difficult.
Yeah.
I would say when they got through those 3 games, I was like, okay, we're good. We're gonna make the playoffs. The first moment where I was like, whoa, was when the Sabres went into Tampa and they just blew the crap. They blasted them. I don't know if it was like 6-1 or 6. It was like it was a blowout. Maybe Tampa scored some late goals, but at that point, I said the Sabres just announced to the rest of the NHL that they have arrived. And 1 week later was the 8-7 game in Buffalo where there was over 100 penalty minutes. And that's when I was like, not only did they just announce the week before that they are here to play, they just announced to the entire league today they don't care how they play. They are willing to do whatever it's required. And that was kind of the wake-up call. And I know people will say, well, they didn't get to the conference finals. They lost in the second round. I don't even know how good they're going to be next year because they have a lot of young players. They might lose Alex Tuck. But with how they are constructed, with how much youth and skill they have, and especially on their defense, top 4, the Sabres are set up to be a very good team for the next 5+ years.
Oh, yeah. Like 10 years of tanking will give you finally get some good draft picks in and have everyone mesh together. And you have a GM that has a plan, at least with Yarmo. So I will say this, Mazel tov. I'm truly excited for, even though we're in the Cup final right now, I'm truly excited for next year because, like, all right, here, let's go through this. The Flyers are good. The Sabres are good. You're probably going to get Florida back in the playoffs. Tampa will be Tampa. I don't know what's going to happen unless John Cooper falls off anything or that team falls off a cliff. Pretty much it's like the East is like it's Buffalo, Montreal, maybe in Carolina, even though I don't trust the Carolina Hurricanes anyways. So I feel like the future's really bright for the Sabres because you could see that they found a way. They won a round, but they lost in a way like, hey, we're more hungry than ever before, at least.
So this might sound crazy, and
we like crazy on this podcast. By the way,
crazy that I even said this a couple years ago, and I got lucky. The Sabres ended up being really good this year, but a few years ago, I said something on air where I predicted the Sabres made the playoffs 2 years ago. It obviously didn't happen. They had 79 points. It didn't go well, but their metrics pointed them to being a better team than where they finished. So there was a lot of people going into this year, analytics-wise community, that were like they're going to be between 91 to like 95 points. Obviously, they finished 109, I think it was. So they much better than even that. A couple years ago, I went out and I said the Sabres are going to be good in the near future. And when they get good, they're not just going to be good. In a few years, they're going to be one of the best teams in the league. And I still stand by that. It's when you look at the Sabres, when you have a defense core of Rasmus Dahlin, who's arguably one of the best defensemen in the league, and you mix that with an Owen Power, who's a number 1 overall pick from just a few years ago, who's just starting to find his game. You have a Bo Byram and then a Matthias Samuelsson, who was a +40, like 1 or +42 this year. Then you have the plethora of young talent where you like have a Zach Benson, a Noah Ostlund. You have
Josh Jones.
All these different guys that mix in a Consta Helenus who just stepped up during the playoffs. And you got a 40-goal scorer like Tage Thompson. They got the pieces to where if they can find the right combo and they can build off of this experience, I'm not saying it's going to be this next year, but they really could be a Stanley Cup contender to win it all with just a tweak or two to their lineup in the near future.
I definitely see that. Plus, depends what Alex Tuck's contract's going to be, since the cap is going to like 108 million, I believe. So, mazel tov to any free agency, for real. Would you say it's like? I always say this as a very biased Flyer fan. Is it good the NHL has the Flyers and the Sabres good again in the playoffs this past year?
It's very good for the NHL, and some people won't agree with me on that, but the NHL needs their traditional markets to be relevant. And I'm not saying that as anything negative about Southern markets. I know that's how it gets interpreted sometimes when you say the northern markets need to be good, but it's been far too long where the traditional markets have just been completely absent. I think for a league to be successful, you need a certain percentage of the Canadian teams to be good, a certain percentage of your northern U.S. teams to be good, and a certain percentage of your southern teams to be good. And when too much of one of those categories is dominating, it's not good for the entire league. And people say, well, why does that matter? Why should I care about which teams are good and which teams are bad? Well, as a fan, you really don't need to, but the business of the NHL does need to. This ain't the NFL where they're making billions of dollars on every single TV contract and every team is worth $6 billion just because they exist. This ain't the NBA where they have all these billion-dollar TV contracts, or the MLB that has existed for 125 years. The NHL, they know their Canadian markets are going to support them no matter what. Those are the true only diehards, and Buffalo is kind of close to them when the Sabres are at least halfway decent. The northern markets, they'll support their teams. They'll have attendance. But when their teams aren't in the playoffs and they're not relevant, New York City ain't watching hockey when the Rangers aren't making a run. The Philadelphia's not watching hockey when the Flyers aren't making a run. Even like Detroit, the same thing. So you need those markets in there because those are the most populated markets that have the highest percentage of hockey fans. Yeah. So when those teams are alive and they make a run, they get you the big ratings, which gets you the TV contract. And then obviously the NHL needs the southern markets to be relevant because you need to grow the game. You need to expand it. It gets into more households. And it's not about just right now. It's about having kids become fans of the game down the line. But here's kind of the problem. If all the southern markets are good, while that's great that they're building those markets and those markets are going to be more secure down the line, they don't have the same numbers of fans that the Canadian markets and the northern markets have. So if all the southern markets are dominating, the TV ratings are never going to be what they could be.
No.
If all the Canadian markets are dominating, then the U.S. ratings
plummet so badly.
And if all the traditional markets in the north in the United States are good, well, that's not good for the South because if the southern teams are struggling, then people aren't going to the games and you're not growing the game in the South. So you really need a balance between all three. And if we're answering just Flyers, Sabres, is it good for the NHL? Yeah, because those are two of the most passionate fan bases. When those teams are good, it brings back nostalgia of better times in the league. And that is what the league can market. Like, no offense, it's hard for the league to market things when 75% of the country doesn't even care.
Yeah, so like if, for example, if Panthers Hurricanes, are we going to watch?
So like I'll put it like this. Tampa Montreal had great ratings in the first round. Like that was a good rated series.
Yeah.
It got destroyed by Buffalo Montreal. You're talking about one of the smallest US market in the NHL and a Canadian market. Yet the US television ratings for Buffalo Montreal were some of the best rated games the NHL has seen in the playoffs in forever. Why? Because when 19% of Buffalo was watching that, and then you see like Buffalo has transplants all over the country.
Everywhere.
And then, like, I hate to say it, like a lot of Bills fans that maybe don't have a hockey team, they're like, oh, the Buffalo's good. Like they start tuning in. Like that's what happens. The same thing, like Flyers fans start tuning in to their games. It'd be the same thing if like the Red Wings were good again and the Blackhawks were good again. And it's like, it's no disrespect to the southern markets. And a lot of people are like, well, what do you want to do? Rig it for the North? No, I don't want to rig it for anybody. I just want there to be balance throughout the different types of markets in the sport.
All right, so we're 1 through 8. I'm getting back to 1 through 8. Am I right on that one?
The 1 through 8 needs to exist. The whole format right now is playoff-wise. It doesn't even make sense mathematically. And yes, the first round has been great, and the second round has been great. But when you have conference finals, and I know Vegas swept Colorado, so that was kind of reverse of what was expected.
Yeah.
But when you have conference finals ending in 4 or 5 games, and this has now happened a few times, it's a sign that your playoffs isn't designed to have competitive series down the road. It's designed to have competitive series in the very beginning. And I think it's a little bit unfair to a team like Tampa and Montreal where they're playing each other in the first round, but
Dallas,
then the
Minnesota
are playing the Flyers. Like, how is the 7 and 8 a first round matchup? But then you have the 3-4 as the other matchup. Like, that makes no sense. And what they should probably do is have two divisions, have a division champ in each, get a 1 and a 2, and then have everybody else seeded 3 through 8 based on where you finish, and that would be more fair. And I know you would lose the bracket and you'd have to reseed every round.
I'm fine with that though.
Yeah, I've never seen an issue where everybody is united on it. And if we're kind of, I don't like saying this because I don't like the Maple Leafs, but let's be real, like this playoff format kind of screwed the Maple Leafs over more than like any other team in the NHL. That team should have had at least one deep run in the playoffs.
They should at least have one conference final anyways. But
at least an appearance in the conference finals. Like, they have 2 playoff series wins the entire time they have Austin Matthews. And the Sabres almost matched that this playoffs alone. So it's insane. Like,
let's be honest. Even though we would lose out on Sabres, Bruins, we would at least get Montreal, Boston first round if we did 1 through 8. Carolina, Philly, Buffalo, Pittsburgh would have been entertaining because it would have been truly entertaining. 3-6 Tampa, Ottawa, who cares? If that was in the East, you're West. You have 1 versus 8. Colorado, LA, we would have gotten that. 2, Dallas, Anaheim, have been fine. 3-6 Minnesota, Utah, have been fine. 4-5, you would still get a great matchup, anyways.
Yeah, and some of them would have stayed the same. And
you would get Vegas, Edmonton the first round. That's a perfect first round match. That's like Sabres, Flyers in the 90s almost.
And can I tell you something? This is another thing. I don't want to be hated by your audience here.
No, I'm going to guarantee this. Our audience probably likes you already anyway.
So another quiet NHL truth that doesn't get discussed enough. The reason why they changed the playoff format and they went to the divisions that they went to was to help the southern markets. So let's be real. You had Carolina, Washington, Florida, and Tampa. I forget who the 5th team.
Winnipeg. It was Atlanta. Then they moved to Winnipeg. So you had Winnipeg fans on vacation all the time in Florida.
You had your geographic regions. So what happens when you have a division with 5 southern teams? And I'm going to include Washington as a southern team. I know they're mid-Atlantic. Well, a couple of them are going to be good.
Yeah.
A couple of them are going to be really bad. And for the ones that are bad, it's going to be hard to grow fan support because they're struggling. And I'm not saying it's a guarantee when you separate them that you're going to have more success. But think about it. They're not getting attendance from their oppositions.
No.
Because unless it's like a Florida-Tampa game where it's people in state. Well, suddenly you get Florida and Tampa connected to Buffalo, Boston, all these Canadian cities. People are going to go to those southern arenas. Yep. That's going to help you attendance-wise. Same thing with Carolina, Washington now being in the same division with all those metro teams, because suddenly they're going to help you out too. And what happens? You start evening things out a little bit, and then suddenly what happens? Like, you start growing these teams, you start having the playoffs where it is, and suddenly winning happens. And that's how you get to this point in the league where it gets a little bit balanced. It's not like the NHL. The NHL didn't go about saying we're going to rig it for the South. They absolutely did not. All these Southern teams have great general managers, they have good head coaches, and they have great rosters. But the NHL definitely looked at the problem in probably the early 2012s and 2013s and was like, Atlanta moved to Winnipeg. Arizona's at risk of moving.
Yeah.
Florida's struggling. Carolina, they won a cup, but they haven't been great since then.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of need to fix this problem a little bit. And then since then, voila.
Which I kind of hate it, by the way. I want to know why? I hate how, in the metros, Carolina doesn't belong in our division. Get them out of here. I would trade Carolina and Columbus for Buffalo, honestly, because I feel like those.
Ask yourself this, why did the divisions end up being the way they are? You have a division that has historically been, since the 1-8 format in the East, the Atlantic being a Canadian division plus Buffalo and Boston. So you got Toronto, original 6. Yep. You have obviously Montreal, original 6. You have Boston, original 6. And then you end up moving Detroit west to east because they wanted to be in the Eastern Conference.
Which I still hate that move, by the way. I still do. That thing was fucked them up for almost a decade anyways.
So then you had Detroit original 6. Buffalo might as well be a Canadian market. And then you have Ottawa, like they are a Canadian market, but like they're the small Canadian market in the East. So you have 6 places that live and bleed hockey. It is everything they are. And you had Florida and Tampa Bay. And I'm not saying this to be disrespectful to Florida and Tampa Bay. Those are the last 6 participants in the Stanley Cup before Carolina.
Yeah.
Why do you think the NHL did that? Like they didn't do it because they thought, well, these are matchups that everybody in the Northeast in Canada is craving. They didn't do that.
No, Tampa's always been a good market anyways. I've came to terms with that. But Florida's been a brutal market. Like the Miami area is like, I'll say it down here. Miami is the most fickle hockey fan base of all time because it's like, oh, they're good, I'll go. Oh, they're bad, I won't go. Why should I drive up to Sunrise anyways?
The NHL knows that too.
Yeah.
Which is why, and like this discussion could go so many different directions.
Oh, yeah.
Like even bringing up like the tax like differences. Everybody will, a lot of Southern fans will be like, well, why don't you go to your state legislators and tell them to change the taxes in your area? Oh, cool. Because I have the ability to change taxes in New York State. If I knew how to do that, I'd be the governor of the state by now. So like
you get my vote already anyways.
That's such a crazy thing to say. And the league knows it creates a slight competitive imbalance. And nobody's saying like, oh, that's the reason why Florida is great or that's the reason why Tampa is great. But it definitely doesn't hurt when you can pay stars less money and have extra money left to pay depth players. Now you still have to be smart. You still have to make good decisions. But if we're being real, like the thing about hockey that makes it so much different than all these other sports is that hockey players are not making the $30 million, $40 million a year deal. So
sooner or later they will.
So like MLB players are going wherever the big, massive contract is. Like normally that's the Yankees or normally that's the Dodgers, and there's a few in betweens. NBA, they're getting the Supermax. Half the players have even admitted like they don't even care about winning or losing. They just want to play in a big market, have fun, and be able to enjoy their outside life. And then when you go to the NFL, you got a salary cap. And then it's a lot of the NFL is where can I get my money? But mostly I want to win.
Exactly.
Win. The problem about hockey is this. It's the culture of hockey. It's a very boys club type culture. You're talking about a lot of young white men that number one, they want to keep as much money as possible. So the no taxes plays a big role. Number two, most of these players, they despise the media. They don't want to be in front of a camera, and they just want to blend in and win. So why does the Southern markets please them? It's not because they love the fans. It's not because they think they're the greatest place on earth. It's one, I'm going to get paid money, less taxes. Two, I'm going to win. Three, when I go out to the beach, half the people aren't going to know who I am. So I can just live a normal life with my family. You know what happens in Buffalo? They're going to get harassed when they stink, or they're going to be loved beyond like anything they've ever experienced when they're good.
You're going to be asked in the grocery line, what's wrong with the power play? You know, the cashier's going to ask that. You're not going to get down here anyways, the public.
It's going to be the same thing in Toronto, Winnipeg. And like now we're supposed to feel bad for Mitch Marner because the Toronto media was tough on him. Like Jack Eichel's trying to compare Mitch Marner's situation to what he did in Buffalo. And at the end of the day, it's like, I don't want to be like the guy that like villainizes hockey players. But if you can't handle a little bit of criticism, you're soft. And it's like, I don't feel bad for these players that can't deal with the media. Like that is your own, that's part of the responsibilities that come with the game. And I feel like we're starting this culture of hockey where these players would rather escape difficult situations where they're expected to perform. Yeah. And they would rather play in a Southern market where if they perform and they do great, awesome. And if they don't, nobody cares.
Like the Cutter Gauthier situation. He didn't want to play for Philadelphia. I was like, I'm going to go to Anaheim and play. I was like, oh, you don't want to play for a real franchise? Like, get out of here, you know?
Because like hockey is just so much different. And like, I hate to say it, but that's why we have this conversation, traditional market versus non-traditional market. Yeah. Because nobody's, I'll say this. Carolina Hurricanes, amazing fan base right now. And they've been amazing I'm saying right now for several years.
You can say that, yeah.
But it's easy to sell out your building when you're one of the best teams in hockey.
Yeah.
It's the same thing in all these other markets. Ask yourself this: why did Vegas get the most favorable expansion draft setup in the history of the league?
Because they wanted them to win so badly.
Didn't win, nobody would care. So they basically set it up for Vegas to be great. If they did that for Winnipeg or some other, I know Winnipeg just moved from.
They tried to do that for Seattle, but Ron Francis couldn't read the writing on the wall, you know.
Yeah. And they did a couple teams a lot of teams had learned. Okay, we were taken advantage of.
Yeah. By
Vegas's smart analytical approach. None of that's not saying. Vegas obviously was smart to take advantage of it. And that's the tough part of all this. You don't want to take away the credit of the GMs, the coaches, and the players that have done a tremendous job. But if you have smart people running organizations that understand the advantages, the built-in advantages that they have, that just gives them a one-up on everybody else. And and I know this was made fun of a lot in Buffalo because Kevin Adams talked about no palm trees in Buffalo. But let's be real. It's a lot more difficult attracting great players to come to cold weather markets, higher taxes that haven't won in years. And then when half the league has you on a no trade clause, you can't even trade for players. You're basically in a built-in disadvantage. So people ask, well, why has Detroit been awful for the last 9 years? Why has Buffalo been awful? Why has Ottawa been awful? Now suddenly some of those teams are changing it a little bit. Philadelphia, same situation. Well, some of it's their own fault, and then some of it is the league is just not operated in a way that is conducive to turning teams around.
I'm all about banning the no trade list anyway. So if you ever get traded, you dealt with it anyways. If you want to get traded, go ask.
That's a players' union conversation, unfortunately.
That's the CBA. I won't get into that because I know there's one CBA that's a mess right now. It's baseball, anyways, and we will not get into that. It's not part of our program, anyways. All right, I will say this: if it was Buffalo, Philadelphia in that Eastern Conference final, that'd been so perfect. By the way, I could not watch. I'm going to be honest with you. I couldn't watch a second of that series because even though it was Montreal and Carolina, I wanted Montreal to win just for the ratings to be fine, but now it's gonna be it's Carolina Vegas after game one, and as we're recording the show, is Vegas won in overtime. Who are we rooting for this series anyway? Because I can't come to grips to root for the Carolina Hurricanes. It's they brought out the Whaler jerseys a lot of ever since this new ownership took over, and they've been rolling those out. I've given them that team a pass. Okay, you won your one cup, just don't bother me. Now they bring out the Whalers. You're dead to me now. Who are you rooting for in this thing, anyways?
Technically, I'd say Carolina, but if you're asking, am I actively rooting? No, I.
That's me too. I'm rooting for the Meteor. That's what we're doing.
I don't even care. The reason I'd say Carolina is they broke Buffalo's heart 20 years ago, but that's a long time. I know a lot of Sabres fans still hate them for what happened at that period, but that's 2 decades. If the Sabres were relevant the last 2 decades, we wouldn't be harping on to feelings that happened in 2006.
I remember 06, 07 when all the Buffalo people was the Flyers are dead, and then lo and behold, they came back to life the year after anyways.
Yeah. The Vegas is a very hateable team. I would say that right now you got the situation with Bruce Cassidy where they're not letting him coach anywhere else.
He's ridiculous.
He's willing to forfeit his salary to have that opportunity to coach, but they're denying it, which is in his contract, which I guess is fair, but sometimes there's a right thing to do and a wrong thing to do. It definitely doesn't seem like they're doing the right thing. I know they don't want him to go to a division rival, so I guess I get that perspective. Yeah. I'm a Sabres fan. I don't have sympathy for Jack Eichel. I know what.
Oh, okay. I like this already.
I know what he sold the world a few years ago about how he wanted to have a surgery. Buffalo doctors wouldn't let him. That's why he wanted it out. That was never the full truth. He had already requested a trade a year before. Mm-hmm. So that being the reason wasn't the reason. He was a person that was given everything he ever wanted in Buffalo. He was drafted number 2 overall. He got several coaches fired. He got several general managers fired. I was covering minor league hockey when Jack Eichel joined the Sabres. And I remember when they named him the captain, there were several other professional players I knew that had connections to other people in the league that knew him. and they said Buffalo's going to be a disaster. And I was like, why? They have one of the best young stars in the league. And they're like, they're giving all this power to a kid, and that is not how you build a team. You don't build a team by letting a kid run the locker room. Ryan O'Reilly trade was connected to Jack Eichel and not loving him in the locker room. So that forced out one of your best two-way players who ends up winning a cup elsewhere. And
year
then
after,
when you're firing coaches every 2 years to appease your superstar, what are you doing? You're just going 180 in every direction. Oh, we're going to be a well-rounded team. Nope. Now we're going to be an offensive team. Nope. Now we're going to be a team that's doing this. Nope. We're going to do that. Now we're going to try to get Taylor Hall to save this. And then but you're doing all these overreactionary moves, which if you had a competent owner and general manager, you're probably not appeasing the young kid, but everybody wants to make it seem like Eichel had it so bad. A lot of it was his own doing. And then you add in just some of the other situations with Vegas, and even John Tortorella not wanting to take part with the media. It's you factor in the expansion draft and how they've been just gifted so much early success.
I have my hate towards Tortorella already. I thought he was the worst coach in Flyer history anyways.
It's Tortorella in a short period is a good coach. The problem is the thing that is great for Vegas is the short period is literally the playoffs, which is going to maximize them. You know what I would do if I was Vegas? I win the cup and I don't hire him to be the permanent head coach. I let him
do a Larry Robinson situation. I like it.
Yeah, like honestly, like do you want him to be a pain in the ass with your team the next 2 years? No, just win the cup, hire somebody else, and be like, thank you for your service. Welcome to the Hall of Fame. And be done with it.
That's the other thing with me. I don't want him to win a cup because he was on that team in 03-04, and his ownership group was bitching about the salary cap. And I looked up like, you're in Tampa, find a way to pay him anyways. We lost the season out of it. So I still have my one grudge about that Tampa team.
But yeah, the whole situation, and I can't wait to see what the ratings are going to be for the Stanley Cup final, because we're going to learn a very lesson one way or another. If the ratings for this series suck, after what we got in the first and second round with Philadelphia being back in the playoffs, Pittsburgh being back in the playoffs,
great matchup,
being back in the playoffs, the Sabres being back in the playoffs,
another great matchup.
If the ratings are lackluster for the Stanley Cup Finals after we just saw 4 traditional teams back in the playoffs and deliver first-round ratings, it sends the clear message to the rest of the league. And that is the Southern markets can survive now without the traditional markets, but they can't deliver what brings in money to the league. And that was what my tweet that got all these Southern fans pissed off. That was what the basis of my tweet was the entire time. It was never that I don't want to see Southern teams win. It's just that if it's nothing but Southern teams winning, you're going to hurt the business of the game. The NHL is never going to be the NBA, the MLB, or the NFL. But you know what they don't want to be? They don't want to be compared to the MLS. And that is what hockey is right now. It's competing with the MLS for that 4th league in the United States. And the only thing that gives the hockey advantage over the MLS is that the MLS was stupid enough to sign a contract with Apple TV to where they're not on the main networks at all, while hockey has TNT and ESPN. But when you're talking about money, the NHL does not bring in even anything close. So I would ask this to a Southern hockey fan. I know I'm not asking them to root for the New York Rangers or the Boston Bruins or the Chicago.
No, I kind of do want to see Brady Love root for one of the New York teams or the Philadelphia team just for pure entertainment, who went after you, which was probably our favorite thing ever. We love Brady Love on for anything content wise, and going after you was like we have a match made in heaven. I'm ready for this anyway. So shout out to Brandy Love at least going after you, by the way.
And that was the funniest thing in the world. I couldn't believe that she came after me first.
I know.
That's funny. Like, I mean, I'm not gonna. Obviously, a lot of people know who she is.
Yeah, if you know, you know. So we'll move on with that anyway.
We'll leave it at that. But like the TV contract runs up in 2 years.
Which means I was going to ask you that next anyway.
Negotiations are going to be starting soon.
Yep.
And we know how little ESPN actually values hockey. They were using it to try to build their ESPN Plus app.
It's a portfolio sport for them, I call them.
100%. And with the way the NFL contracts are going in the future, they're going to have to strip money from other sports. We've seen them do it with the MLB in recent times. And NBC is giving all their money to every other sport now. So NBC is not in the picture. CBS is never going to give you money. So where do you get more money from for the NHL? it's either ESPN upping their bid, Turner Sports upping their bid, or somehow Fox getting back in the picture like they were in the late 90s. I don't know if Fox even feels the need because they're going to have to worry about their NFL contracts in the future. So, like, what I would tell people is, like, yeah, it's okay if Vegas is playing Carolina, but if this ends up giving like a 2.5 rating, like that, like
we're screwed.
You could get that watching like Wheel of Fortune or something like that. Like I'm joking. I don't actually know how many people watch Wheel of Fortune.
Or you could be like the old ABC. I'm gonna tell you this is a little inside thing down here. Down here in the ABC affiliate swapped because the original ABC affiliate, which is Local 10, they would not air the first game of the doubleheader of the NHL, by the way, of any of the Saturday doubleheaders, until they swapped to the other one, which is now another version of it's Channel 18, which is like another version of Fox. So they would air both games and stuff. The old ABC affiliate would never air the first game unless it's a big market for the second game, anyways.
And like that's the thing. Like, imagine if the final, like hypothetically,
pay-per-view
is like Chicago versus Boston or Chicago Detroit. Like, you're gonna get big numbers.
Rating.
And like, here's the thing: going into a TV contract negotiating window, probably after next year, that's what you might need to sell the league to everybody else. And like the final point I'll make about this is, like, the NFL could have 0 people in attendance at every single one of their games for like the next 20 years, and they would still make billions of dollars off of just their TV contracts. The NHL doesn't make enough money to get by at a high level without great support from their fans. Do you know what the NHL needs? They need that next TV deal to go up significantly. And if they went from wherever they're at right now to in the billion plus range, that's more money for every other team in the league. That could be the difference from being very profitable to squeaking by and needing to win a playoff series to make revenue. And
i.e. Pittsburgh Penguins of the 90s.
Yes, and it's like they used to say in Buffalo, if the Sabres didn't make the second round of the playoffs, they were going to be losing money. And it's like, what professional sports in America is it run to where if you don't make the playoffs, you're going to lose money? Like, and that's why I tell the Southern fans, for the business of the game, you need a non-traditional market to be successful. Not non-traditional, a traditional
market.
Traditional market to be successful, because you guys in the South, unfortunately, are not carrying the weight of the league. So you need some traditional markets to step up. And it's never been meant as a derogatory thing in the South. No. I think it's amazing that hockey is now at the point where teams in Florida can be Stanley Cup champions and teams in Carolina and Dallas and Vegas can have relevancy. But let's be real. Fans of the game that have been watching for 50 years, they want to see the Red Wings. They want to see the Blackhawks. They want to see the Rangers. They want to see teams that they grew up watching. And if you're not living in Vegas, if you're not living in Carolina, how many people are really tuning in to watch those teams?
Not many. Let's be honest here.
And Vegas has star power. Thank God they have star power. But
thank God for that, at least, and them being successful the first year anyways.
Like, I wish I could tell people that I wish people would watch hockey just to watch hockey.
Yeah.
But we know that's not the case.
No, we're the fourth sport. I accept it, but I could be an a-hole about it because I remind them, I was like, here's the deal. At least our star players play on like the NBA, you know? You know what I mean?
100%.
That's a big thing. I'll say this one other thing. I just want this final to be done with. I don't want it to be done so with, but I'll say this: if it can get quick and easy, it'll be fine. One more thing, but I know the negotiation rights are coming. Are you at the fear that we're going to lose the first round of the exclusivity? We're going to like the NBA does, like all the first round games are going to be national televised. Are you at the fear we're going to lose the local broadcast?
I mean, that's probably something the league will have to give up. Well, if you're ESPN or you're TNT, like you're airing a game and it features like a
Philadelphia Buffalo, we'll say.
Yeah, like and they're all and all of those fans are tuning into their local. You're missing out on numbers there. And then, like, let's say another example, you're not airing that. Like, say your first round game is, well, now they broke up the divisions, but like, let's just say it was a wild card versus a winner. Like, you had a a Florida versus like Carolina first round game. like
Can't sell my tickets.
who's watching? Like who is watching that? Like in big numbers outside of those markets.
Not the state of Connecticut. They'll find a way to root against one of those teams anyway, especially the Carolina team. There's not many Panther fans worldwide yet. So
like I brought up the one stat to you pre-show, and like I don't
the
mean
Buffalo Bandits will have a better rating than that series.
Had a 3.9 local TV rating for games 1 and 2 of the NLL Finals, while Florida was a 3.2 for the Stanley Cup Finals. And I understand that many people were watching on HBO Max and in their apps and their streaming and everything. But and I got to look back at what the rating was versus what the share was. But even if you did the share, which is the percentage of the people with their TVs on, watching TV, that share was still drastically low. So, like, I guess, like, this is the thing I struggle with in hockey.
Yep.
If it's how can you even call yourself a passionate fan base and have 96.8% of your TVs in an area not on to that? Like, the Sabres had the second round game 7 was like a 19.8 on a weeknight.
Yeah, on a Monday night.
And like I understand smaller markets, higher ratings, that's common. But like let's just say Buffalo has 650,000 televisions and you get the 19.8. That right there is already over 120,000 televisions, like viewership alone. So let's just say I don't know how many people are in the Miami market versus the Broward County, whatever you guys. But let's just say like it's a 4 rating and you have 2 million TVs or something like that. Even if you do the math, that's less people watching the Stanley Cup in Southern Florida than watching a second round game in the city of Buffalo, which might be 1/3 of the people watching it. I'm probably not even doing due justice. So,
so Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and West Palm Beach is more than 6.1 million residents, by the way.
Okay, that's crazy. Yeah.
Yes.
But like that's the thing. Like when you get like a 3 rating, you're really talking like I'll put it like this. When the Rams won the Super Bowl and they had their parade, when they were going through Los Angeles, it was so sparse that like you could see like massive gaps of people. Like it looked like it looked like like a team winning an NLL title or like I don't want to like crap on lacrosse league, but it was like watching like a college lacrosse team or like the PWHL champions. And I know the Montreal team that just won the PWHL, their parade actually had like more people than you would see at some of these.
Yeah, it's more like a UConn Huskies parade, anyways. None of college basketball.
Like I said, none of this is disrespect to like Florida or Tampa. They both showed out when they won championships. They had unique, fun celebrations. But to even compare that to like what it would be in some of these other markets, like if Toronto won a Stanley Cup, you're probably talking about easily 1 million to 2 million people celebrating that parade.
And like, burning the city down too, by the way.
Like, I think what we got to acknowledge is like, we have different standards for what it means to be passionate. Being passionate in South Florida means selling out the building, knowing the team exists, and
buying a jersey
and celebrating it when they win. Being passionate in a traditional market is we're going to have big turnout, we're going to party this, and we're going to enjoy it. Being passionate in Canada means we are burning the city down. We're going to have a riot, and there might not be a city left. And it'd be similar in Buffalo. Let's just group Buffalo.
And it also depends if it's a Laker home game, at least after a big win. You know, it depends, anyways. Back in the day. So. All right, we do this with all our first time guests. We do rapid fire. We give you fun questions and answering about anything. All right. So number 1, are most Buffalo sports fans usually Yankee fans or Blue Jay fans?
Yankee fans.
Okay, I always wanted to ask about it. Out of all the NHL fans, who do you hate seeing invade Buffalo the most, by the way?
Who do I hate what?
See invade Buffalo, like the city, the most, anyways.
Maple Leafs. Montreal, close second.
Okay. What is it with the Bills fans loving the elbow room in Fort Lauderdale Beach, by the way? I've always wanted to ask this, by the way. So
they love to party, and wherever they can take over, they adopt as their own.
Who is your favorite Buffalo Sabres alumni? They should have banged the drum before the playoff game. That should have happened, by the way.
Ooh, favorite Sabres alumni. I think they had probably the guy I would have said. Ryan Miller probably would have been that guy, just because last great team goalie, and some of the other guys, Chris Drury, Danny Briere. I know you know Danny Briere. Like, they have affiliations to other teams.
Yeah,
it just wouldn't be the same. So
the obvious answer would have been this. I thought of this, by the way, Matthew Barnaby, at least.
Yeah,
that was a huge miss by you.
That definitely would be interesting. Having Josh Allen was probably the most popular guy they could have picked.
Definitely, for sure. Who is more loved in the Sabres right now? Dominic Hasek still these days, or Ryan Miller, would you say?
Ryan Miller.
What is a better Sabres logo? I have the 90s Go Ahead logo or the current logo. Which one do you prefer more anyways?
I grew up on the Go Ahead, so I'll choose the Go Ahead.
Perfect, at least. And one more other thing. Are the Sabres going to get a new arena soon, or should I make sure my trip's going up there soon anyways before you guys get a new one? What's the status of the arena situation of the old Key Arena / HSBC Arena anyways?
No new arena in the near future. Massive renovations probably announced within the next couple years.
Good answer anyways. Michael Bundt, tell them where everyone can follow you, because you are now a recurring guest of the Upper Podcast, by the way.
Yeah, can find me at Mike_Bundt on Twitter, and then I'm on Instagram and then TikTok too. Sometimes I might be under Bundt Takes, but yeah, if you look up Mike Bundt on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, I'll be there.
Thank you as always. We'll definitely have you on when the Bills season starts, because we do need a Bills perspective on this show anyways. So we'll be calling you. Michael, thank you as always.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.